The question now is that the amendment be agreed to. The member for Hughes.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm pleased to rise to speak on the Treasury Laws Amendment, Illicit Tobacco Offences Bill of 2018. And I'd start my contribution to this debate, Deputy Speaker, by making an admission that I am a fanatical non-smoker, with the greatest respect to some of the other members currently in the chamber. My nose is extraordinarily sensitive to cigarettes. And if someone lights up a cigarette 100 yards away from me, my nose can actually sense it. It causes me discomfort and irritation. So I think, Deputy Speaker, amongst all the members here in the Parliament, I would be very glad to see the smoking rate in this country driven down to zero, and for all those involved in the tobacco industry to put their productive and entrepreneurial works and skills to other efforts. However, Deputy Speaker, the policies that have been adopted by this Parliament, and they were bipartisan policies, was to go down the track to try and reduce the rate of smoking, something that, as I said, I'm all in favour of, but to try and reduce the rate of smoking, effectively introducing a prohibition by price. Now, I can remember standing in this chamber a couple of years ago, Deputy Speaker, we had a similar debate on this, and there were members of the Labor Party that refused to acknowledge that if we were going to increase the price of cigarettes, the retail price, by increasing the excise on them, that this would lead to a surge in black market activity. There were members of the Labor Party that simply refused to accept that fact. And, Deputy Speaker, what have we seen since? We've seen that this has done exactly that. It must be an acknowledgement of this Parliament that if we are going to go down the track of introducing what is effectively a prohibition by price, that will result in a lot more black market activity. It will create a profit motive, Deputy Speaker, for those involved in smuggling activities, attracting them to cigarettes, and we have to respond by putting a substantial portion of the increased revenue that this government is going to receive, or whichever the Commonwealth is going to receive, into law enforcement activities, Deputy Speaker. And that's why this bill should be commended, because that's the problem that it tackles. Now, Deputy Speaker, I had the fortune to go on a delegation overseas last year, went through Dubai Airport, and I had a look at one of the cigarettes just to see what the prices were. And I could have bought a packet or several packets. It was a carton of 3 cartons packed together and was on special. But I could have bought a packet of Benson and Hedges for $1.67 Australian in Dubai Airport. And yet, Deputy Speaker, the bipartisan policies of this Parliament are going to increase that price of a packet of Benson and Hedges up to $40 with the excise increases. Already, Deputy Speaker, I know some may be able to inform me a little bit better, but I understand a packet of Benson and Hedges at the moment is around $25 here in Australia. The highest price of cigarettes in the world, which of course, Deputy Speaker, can only attract with such massive discrepancies in the cost of the manufacturing cost of a packet of cigarettes, where you can buy them lawfully in an overseas country, which is a big difference from illegal drug smuggling, Deputy Speaker, as where illegal drugs are produced unlawfully in the country of origin, are sold on the black market unlawfully, shipped unlawfully to Australia. The whole process, Deputy Speaker, is illegal. But when it comes to cigarette smuggling and importation, the manufacture and sale of those cigarettes in the country of origin is a lawful activity. It only becomes unlawful when those cigarettes are shipped to Australia and a fraudulent customs declaration is made. So, Deputy Speaker, we can see how this has actually fuelled the activities, the illegal activities in the black market, by the work of the tobacco strike force team. In their first 2 years of operation, they seized more than 400 tonnes of illegal tobacco, worth more than $300 million in lost duty. And the coalition, Deputy Speaker, was the ones that actually put forward the money to fund that tobacco strike team. So it's very pleasing to hear members of the opposition suggesting that we should increase or continue the funding for that, when it was the coalition government that actually put that funding initially. When the Labor Party was the one, Deputy Speaker, that introduced the original excise increases, but did nothing to crack down on the increase of illegal activity that anyone with common sense would have understood would have been the natural consequences of such a policy. So, Deputy Speaker, that's why this bill deserves some support, or all support, Deputy Speaker. Because what we are doing, we are increasing the penalties. Increasing the penalties for illegal activity. We know that the illegal activities are going to ramp up every time we ratchet the duties up, Deputy Speaker, and the excises. Every time that lawful cigarettes become more and more expensive, there'll be greater and greater black market activity. So which is the bipartisan position of this parliament, that we are going to go down that track, we have to respond and put the appropriate resources into law enforcement, to making sure that they have the resources that they need, and also making sure that the penalties are appropriate. And that's what this bill does, Deputy Speaker. It increases those penalties. And it does need increasing. I know in my electorate, Deputy Speaker, that you can drive around to almost any suburb and go into a tobacconist and purchase an illegal packet of cigarettes for around $10, less than half the price of the lawful product. Now, what will happen, Deputy Speaker, when we make those lawful cigarettes at $40? It will only again further incentivise the black market. And the question is, Deputy Speaker, is this actually having a great effect on the reduction in the rate of smoking? An article from The Australian in August 14 last year noted that the number of smokers in Australia has increased for the first time since the anti-smoking campaigns ramped up a generation ago, casting doubt on the effectiveness of further tax increases in cigarettes. It continues, the unexpected standstill in the national smoking rate since 2013, combined with rapid population increase, has pushed the number of regular smokers by more than 21,000 to 2.4 million, according to Colin Mendelsohn, an expert in public health at the University of New South Wales. And he says Australia's, quote, punitive and coercive policies to curb smoking, quote, have run out of steam. So if we're going to continue to drive down that rate of smoking, Deputy Speaker, that all of us, whichever side of this chamber we sit on, we want to see, this bill goes a long way to going down that track to increase those penalties. But we also, Deputy Speaker, have to acknowledge that a lot more needs to be done in this space. We need to look at what resources our Australian Border Force need. We need to continue the work of the Tobacco Strike Force to ensure that they are appropriately resourced, because, Deputy Speaker, that is the only way we're going to continue to drive down the rates of smoking in this country. I commend the bill to the House.
I thank the member for Hughes.